Welcome to another episode of Career Channels, the podcast for Career Source North Florida. We serve Hamilton, Jefferson, Lafayette, Madison, Suwannee, and Taylor, the North Florida region. And we are here today at Big Bend Technical College in Perry, Florida. And joining me is Jodi Tillman, director. And we are going to talk today about all things that are great at Big Bend Technical College, along with kind of getting into some nuts and bolts, some inside baseball with how programs are aligned with industry in the region and how new programs come to fruition. And so Jodi and I have looked at some labor market information for the area for Taylor County and the broader area surrounding Taylor County. And one of the things I see that just stands out to me is the composition of industry in the county. It is looks a little bit different, which all my counties look a little bit different.
Sure.
But there is such a concentration. Over 20% of the industry in the county is labeled as manufacturing. With manufacturing being over 20% of the industry composition in the county, it looks different than many of our other counties in rural North Florida. And manufacturing is so vitally important to the county, to the tax base of the county and the region, to the GDP and what we contribute to the state's GDP and what we contribute nationally. So let's talk about manufacturing a little bit, and the programs that align with that industry and what we do. How we bring in information so that we know that these are programs that our industry partners need, desire, want, the skills that they need in their company. So let's just talk about that.
All right. Well, first off, welcome to Big Bend Technical College, and we are very thankful for the relationship that we have with Career Source North Florida, and specifically with you, Mrs. Head. It's very helpful for us to have an office here and to serve our clients, and so we're very thankful for that. Perry and Taylor County specifically is an interesting dynamic. If you drove through our beautiful little town, you wouldn't think that we have what we have at all. A lot of trees, obviously, and we do have pulpwood production in our community. It's not a paper mill per se, it's high-grade pulp, which is actually an entirely different product. But
more of a cellulose type
more
product.
Of a cellulose, more for actually baby diapers and food grade, in fact, ice cream. So if you go off of the beaten path a little bit, you'll see that we have a lot of manufacturing in our community, specifically welding, both pipe welding and aluminum welding. We have large companies here, American Aluminum, which is the retrofit for police cars for K9. We also have Cam Locker, we have RWS, I could go on and on. There's several companies here that build everything from toolboxes to the boiler plates at the mill. So in addition to welding, we have a lot of companies. We have West Fraser here, we have Super Puffed, and those companies need electrical and instrumentation employees that can run those pieces of equipment to run their specific manufacturing that they're doing.
Can we break there for a second?
Sure.
Electrical and instrumentation. What does that consist of?
Those are the
electrical and instrumentation.
True. They are really the individuals who go into the manufacturing facilities and run those machines that are running those automated processes. So in their electrical role, they may be installing that equipment, and then in the instrumentation part of that job description, they would be actually monitoring those pneumatic processes, those PLC processes, whatever the process that that particular company may use to keep those machines running appropriately. So we have a very successful electrical and instrumentation program. In fact, thanks to a grant we just received, we're actually doubling that program. So we're excited to be able to provide more employees in that. And for prospective students out there, that's one of the industries that we have that the starting salary is right around 50 to 70,000. So not a bad gig to come right out of a year and a half of school and start at that type of salary.
Right, and maybe we can come back in a few minutes and talk about that grant opportunity for dual enrollment students.
Sure, absolutely.
And expanding that.
Additionally, we have a millwright program, and a lot of people don't know what a millwright is. So that's why we always tag it with an industrial mechanic. And they're actually the people that work in these manufacturing processes to keep the machinery running. The electrical, the E&I person may troubleshoot something, and then the millwright would come in and repair it. So those three manufacturing programs that we now offer are absolutely set up to supplying employees for those manufacturing facilities around the area. And that's manufacturing.
And when we say the area, we're not just talking about Taylor County, although that's certainly Taylor County. We're talking about a broader area, which includes the phosphate mine in White Springs. It includes employers up into Georgia.
Georgia, we have several people placed there. They can really go anywhere in the world, and honestly, we do have students placed everywhere in the world. But when we say graduates for the industry, we're talking about the region and beyond.
Tell me a little bit about the certifications that go along with those programs.
So we're a career certificate school. We don't offer credits, we offer clock hours, and each of our programs are a specific set of hours, and when the students complete that, they receive a certificate of completion, which is their diploma per se. But all of our programs also lead to relevant industry certifications and or licensures. So our students come out with their career certificate, and then whatever the relative industry certification would be. So for instance, our welders all come out, most of them, with 5 or 6 AWS, American Welding Society certifications. Our millwright students come out with IMM or millwright certifications through NCCER, and E&I will also be pursuing the NCCER certifications this year. So we feel that makes them more marketable. We also have a great relationship with CareerSource, and so we've had your staff come in and work with our students in employability skills, in their resumes, in their interview skills. Because we found that soft skills, those foundational skills, are just as important and sometimes more important. Absolutely. Than the hard skills. But a lot of times those hard skills, those certifications that you just talked about are what's listed in the job description. Sure. So there's a direct correlation and alignment with industry. And we feel it gives our students a leg up. It makes them more employable when they go for a job interview. The fact that they have those certifications, they have those soft skills, and they've been trained by highly qualified instructors here. So we think we put out a very good product. Let's talk a little bit about how we get input from industry. So we know employers can pick up the phone and just call you or me directly, and do, right? And they yes. And they do. But also there's some formal opportunities where they can provide us feedback on what the curriculum looks like, what program completers are displaying when they come on the job. Absolutely. And so processes like your advisory councils per program, your institutional advisory council, there's a process we work through the Perkins grant, the community Comprehensive Local Needs Assessment. Thank CLNA. You. CLNA. I was going to spit out an acronym and then I was like, oh, wait. Yeah. So all of those opportunities provide us intel. So right? we are accredited we're an accredited school through the Council of Occupational Education, and they require that we have business and industry input. So the way that we check that box, if you will, and fill a very important need for our school is we must have business and industry representatives on our, as you mentioned, institutional advisory council, which is kind of like a school improvement team, if you will, for a K-12 system. And then each of our programs have an occupational advisory council, and that requires at least 3 business representatives on that council. So our accrediting agency requires that participation for business and industry, and that's so invaluable to us. It allows us to know if we have the right equipment, if we're teaching the right hours, if we're using the right software or curriculum, so it's very valuable to us. Additionally, they serve as points of employment for our students, and so they'll quickly volunteer to be on those advisory committees because they want to know what students are getting ready to graduate so that they can offer them positions. And then a little known thing too is an internship can also come out of that. We have internship opportunities for all of our students, although we call them clinicals in the medical field. But those are really an opportunity for those students to go out there and get their hands into the business. They're trying out the facility while the facility is trying them out. So it's a great opportunity there. And it allows our students to get out there and get that real world experience, which we have simulated here. I mean, we have $1 million labs here, and I'm very proud of the facilities that we have here, but it's nothing like the real world actually getting out there. And so internships are another opportunity where we really get that input from industry. Yes, the student was prepared, or no, the student isn't prepared, or we didn't even think about that. Thank goodness they had that skill. So we are extremely dependent on industry. And then also a little known fact is we also offer continuing workforce education. So if some of these employees maybe have been employed at some of these places for a long time, and there's some new technology that's come out that we have here at the school that they haven't been trained on, then they can come here and we'll sit down and do a prescribed training for them and allow their employees to come and spend anywhere from 10 hours to 100 hours training on that new equipment to get them prepared to be better employees where they're already employed.
And we call that customized training, and we can, Career Source North Florida can actually help pay a portion of that training cost. So, and it really is, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but it's kind of a no-brainer. It's certainly
a win-win.
That there's really very little cost for the employer, and they get a trained, an upgraded, upskilled employee out of it. And not to mention all those peripheral things that go along with training your staff, or training your personnel, like increased loyalty and team building and things like that that go on during training. So lots of opportunities there. You brought up some things that, and I was turning my pages because I have occupational snapshots in front of me. And so one of the dichotomies inside of WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which we work under at Career Source, is that we're industry based, or we look at industry demand, but then we train based on occupation. And it can be two very different conversations, but sometimes it's not. But so we've talked about industry a little bit, but as far as occupations go and the way they're coded, again, production is at the top of the list, and that goes hand in hand with manufacturing. But also toward the top of the list is transportation and material moving. And that kind of goes, again, dovetails into the manufacturing industry. And so you can't really do one without the other. You can't manufacture and not move your product.
Right.
So, so here at Big Bend, we worked very hard a few years ago to upstart a diesel mechanic program. which lends itself to the transportation industry, but also manufacturing industry. And so you want to talk a little bit about what that process was? I hope I'm not putting you on the spot too much on that. It just came to mind.
And it kind of weaves itself into one of the questions you said earlier in the introduction, talk about how we choose programs. And so again, we work very closely with you and your staff in identifying what areas need for what areas are needed in the community. And one of the things that we have to pay attention to is we can't just pick programs. I would love to have a culinary program here, but there aren't that many chef opportunities in our region. And so, you know, you don't train to go to culinary school to work at a fast food restaurant. So we don't have that program because it's not a high skill, high wage need. So that was diesel mechanic was one of the areas that we identified through your research and knew that there was a need, especially with all the transportation and the trucking in our community. So we were fortunate to get a grant from you and from the Department of Economic Opportunity, which afforded us the opportunity to open the program. And I'm proud to say that we are producing diesel mechanics who are job offered well before they graduate. And
we want them to stay complete, but
yes,
they're so good that and that's like many of your other programs too, and that's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem,
but we really want them to complete the program.
Sure. And back to a nod to our accrediting agency, for our school to operate, we must graduate 60% of the students that start the program. And that's a low number, but we graduate well above that number. But that's the accrediting agency's requirement. And then of that 60%, 70% must go to work in field. So we can't just offer programs that, you know, we'd like to offer, and we can't even, so a program that I promise you this community needs would be marine mechanics.
So Taylor County has more coastline than I think most any other county in the state.
It does. It has the most coastline. Yes.
And I always tell people it's kind of in the bend of Florida. And so, or the knee, or you can take your pick, but it is truly the Big Bend.
It is.
And that is why we're Big Bend Technical College. But so the coastline feature is something that people just don't realize across the state, that Taylor County is has this incredible, vibrant, almost going to call it
aquaculture needs, through boating and fishing and plants, you know, the restoration of the shoreline. I mean, there's a lot of aquatic and marine needs there.
Yes.
But our dilemma would be, okay, so we open a marine mechanic program and we train 15 mechanics every year. I'm sure that 15 would have no problem going to work, but where's the next 15 going to go? And where's the next 15 going to go?
Right.
So that's
the
kind
market
of how
saturation.
It does. And that's kind of what we have to look at when we start thinking about program offerings is what's the outlook to continue to employ those students. And so, and plus too, the final thing our accrediting agency requires, if it's a licensure program, is that 70% of them must achieve their license. So for our patient care technician and practical nursing program, there's a mark that they must meet. And so when we combine all of those things and we look at business and industry need and we look at employability, where can they go, and we ensure that it's a high skill, high wage, because we can't train for minimum wage, that's how we select programs. And that's how that diesel program came to life.
Yes. And so, and you threw like 10 things out there that I want to talk about so badly. And so we might need a part 2 to this podcast at some point, but you've been able to get a jobs growth grant from the state of Florida. You were awarded to expand your healthcare program.
Yes, we're very excited about
the allied health, licensed practical nursing. It'll be a state-of-the-art facility.
It's going to be a virtual reality laboratory.
So our students can do clinicals.
Right.
in Alaska.
Our students are very limited here, just because we're a small rural community. And so we do have a hospital. We're very fortunate for that. They're a great partner of ours. And every nursing home facility within the region we partner with, and it's fantastic. But if something really major happens, usually someone's going to go to either the trauma center in Tallahassee or Gainesville or Jacksonville. And we don't have a maternity ward here. So our students are limited in what they can see.
And also not to interrupt you, but also during COVID,
yes,
when clinical sites were shut down, you were very limited, and your students needed to finish their program, but couldn't get the clinicals that they needed to finish those programs.
While we do have a mock hospital in our wing right now, and we do have some simulation, it didn't equate to what they would see at a clinical visitation. So this new laboratory, it's a $2 million facility that we'll be building and hopefully opening in June, will actually provide a replication of clinical sites, as you mentioned, anywhere in the world. And so it will allow a virtual reality relationship where the students can go in and the teacher can program what the situation with that particular patient is, and then they can go in and do exactly like they would do if they were face-to-face. So we're very excited about this opportunity. It will actually have a mock nursing home, a mock hospital with all of the technology. And interesting, our school resource officer was sharing with me yesterday morning that he had listened to a presentation that actually, because of COVID and because of rural areas, that there are doctor's offices now who are actually they would send the goggles or the virtual reality apparatus to the patient where they could help them that way. So we're excited to be on top of that technology and be able to present that to our students.
That's really cool.
Some home health virtual reality.
At a conference I was in, this was pre-COVID, there was a virtual reality goggle. I don't know all these things, but anyway, I put it on and you could actually be inside of a blood transfusion and go through the body, and it was really cool.
Kind of like the Magic Bus back in the day, that show.
Yeah,
it is fantastic. Oh, sorry, I'm older than you are. It's amazing though what they can actually. We've tested some of it to look at, to pick what we're going to get, and it's absolutely amazing. And so I'm so thrilled for our students and what they're going to be able to now participate in that wouldn't be available to us without this grant.
Right, and it exposes them to so many other specialties and so many other opportunities that they can have in that field.
I think this is like telemedicine 2.0, maybe. I mean, it's really, it's going to be exciting.
So we talked about the Jobs Growth Grant, which is high dollar money for a new facility. But then there's opportunities for other grants based on our relationship in the past and things we've done together. That's how we've implemented a lot of new programs. So what are you seeing coming down the pipe?
Sure.
What are you looking at expanding? I try not to talk timely issues, specific issues on our podcast, because it stale dates when somebody watches it 5 years from now. They're like, wait a minute.
Maybe they'll come in and roll in the program then. Oh, they have that,
Exactly.
Maybe.
But just talking about implementing new programs.
Sure.
What are you seeing? What are grants looking like, and how are we pivoting with our employers as they're calling and saying, we need this, this, and this?
So looking at the grant opportunities and the future job opportunities in our community, we are kind of sort of in a process where we have actually applied for a grant with you, a federal grant, a multi-state federal grant that if awarded, and maybe even not if awarded, we're trying to move toward a commercial driver's license program, a CDL program here. And we actually, because of the trucking industry and because our advisory board told us that we need to, I want them to know that we listen. We're trying to pursue that. We're also trying to, one thing that we've not delved into is an apprenticeship. It's because we have such strongly established programs, we haven't really needed in those particular manufacturing areas to establish one. So we are looking at an opportunity with a power company in the area to establish a lineman program through an apprenticeship type of program setup. And so we're working toward that, and hopefully that will be successful. And when we do get our virtual reality lab built, that's going to free up some space in our existing health science wing. And we've been asked to look at dental assisting or respiratory technician. So again, driven by that advisory committee telling us that's the need for this community. Those are the programs that we're looking at. And within the next 1 to 3 years, we'll hopefully have fully established.
I know even this morning when we were sitting around the big screen and pulling up labor market information and looking at to look at demand, to look at underrepresented populations, to look at job postings, to look at, we can find all kinds of things. So,
sure. And that has to be what drives our selection if we want programs to be successful. And that's certainly what we want here. And, you know, we've been blessed. We've had some other opportunities. And I think one that I hope that people will be excited about is that we were the recipient of an open door grant from the governor's initiative to get people trained to go to work. You know, Governor DeSantis has said that it's very important. He wants to be #1 in workforce. And so he put his money where his mouth is. And we were the recipient of a $300,000 grant for that. And what that is tuition assistance. So, you know, lots of students get financial aid and can have their tuition paid for. This is really for that student that's paying out of pocket. And it's not so easy to write that tuition check. So we've got $300,000 that can help for up to $3,000 per program to help anybody who wants to come to school for free.
I always tell people, if you want to go to school, there is a way.
Yes.
And again, even if you're watching this podcast 5 years from now, which is be 2027, and both you and I are retired.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But if you come into the school to enroll and you're like, I heard about that open door grant on that podcast.
Yes.
While that may not exist, there will be something to help you along the way.
Well, and Career Source too does a fantastic job, and especially our expensive programs. And they're not, we only charge $2.88 a clock hour no matter what, but some of these programs are 1,350 hours long, and there's a lot of nursing. For example, there's, you know, the books are very expensive, and you all do a fantastic job through your funding processes to help our students. And so absolutely positively, if you want to come to school, we will definitely help you through one of these grants, through financial aid, or we even have, our community is very supportive and provides a lot of scholarships for us. We have a huge fundraiser every fall that helps raise funds. And so I promise you, if you want to come to school, come in and talk to us, and we'll get you taken care of as best we can.
Even if you need to take that first step of getting your GED.
Yes.
There are monies available for
yes, that. We have a GED program here on campus. And you can also take your test here on campus. And if you're committed here and you come here and tell us that, you know, I want to be, I really want to be a millwright, and you start the GED program and you come to school and you have good attendance and you're making gains, we'll go ahead and dual enroll, if you will. There's no such thing as dual enroll in adult world. We call it JEDI, which is integrated, GED integrated. We'll put you in that program and pay for your tuition and while you're taking your GED. And so we've got, there's just so many opportunities. Not being trained in whatever we offer here, there's no excuse for you not to come. We'll make it happen for you.
And you are truly an open door facility. So if someone walks through the door to enroll,
We are open door enrollment, and in our CTE programs, we enroll or start classes twice a year. We start in August and we start in January. Our GED program is absolutely open door. You could come in today and start class tomorrow.
Yes. So along those same lines, talking about dual enrollment, talking about grants, there was a grant with Lafayette County High School, and they've been busing students over for quite some time, but they wanted a few more opportunities for their dual enrollment kids. Is that correct?
So the Department of Education issued what they call the dual enrollment expansion grant. So dual enrollment are high school students who are either in public school, homeschooled, or private school, who can come to our school and take their electives. It's a great opportunity for them. They're getting a jump start on free college education, doesn't cost them anything. And the credits that they earn here, their high school credits, are actually honors credits. So they're getting honors credit for coming to attend our school at no cost. And Lafayette is one of the districts that dual enrolls here. We dual enroll from Dixie, Madison, Suwanee, Lafayette, and Jefferson. We have had students from Hamilton as well. Yes. A long drive, but so these high school students that come here, and Lafayette specifically, so our district received $200,000 to expand programs, and we are buying additional equipment and trying to make room for high school students from our perspective. But Lafayette was so, they send so many students here, and they're so happy with the relationship that we have and the product that we're producing. They actually gave us $80,000 of their grant. And specifically for that E&I expansion, they have had some very successful graduates, and they want to continue that success. And so we are building and retrofitting a state-of-the-art facility that we're not building, not using grant money for building, retrofitting a building to really build a program that we're all going to be proud of.
And on other podcasts, we've talked about our partnerships, and there's another partner in that mix with Lafayette County, which is Swanee River Economic Council, because they provide the transportation with their transportation disadvantage funds. And excuse me if I'm not saying that completely correctly, but there are grant dollars that they're using to transport the students here.
Yes.
And so they run the bus back and forth, which is a great opportunity. Absolutely. Because transportation is often the missing component to someone getting their education or going further in their education, especially in this rural area where transportation is so lacking. And that's just been a huge assistance to those families.
I think that's probably one of the most, the biggest hurdle that we have is transportation, especially when a K-12 student either leaves school prior to completing or graduates, and they're like, what do you mean a bus isn't going to come pick me up? And so it can be a challenge, and it can be something that prevents students from being successful. And so kudos for Lafayette for really being able to brainstorm on how they can provide transportation. I don't want to misspeak, but I think that 60% of their senior class dual enrolls here.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty impressive.
Yes, they get all of those extra points, and again, I'm not going to say that
for
correctly,
their school grade, but yes,
for their school grade and things like that. And they're an amazing district school in our region. So, and
of course, we try to split it. We have Lafayette and our other districts come in the morning session, and then our own school district, Taylor County, sends students here in the afternoon. So it works out really great for us. And parents, if you're not taking advantage wherever you are, wherever you live, you need to go and visit your technical college or your state college and see about dual enrolling, because it's certainly a way for you to save your pocketbook to send your students to college for no cost.
Yes. And just as a reminder, once the student is out of school, they can come to us, and we can enroll them in our adult program, which assists with tuition assistance.
Hard to say.
I'm not sure that anyway.
We talked to earlier this morning. We had a conversation about some students who adult students who may have had a bumpy road on their way and maybe had served some jail time or had some, not so great things on their records. And this is truly a place where they can come. It's a second chance where they can truly be successful. We had a young man who
I was just thinking about him.
yes, he
shared.
yes, he was, and he had done some jail time, if not prison time, and he came and went through our welding program, and he almost gave up because he was a little bit older and he struggled with some of the motions, and then one day it clicked and he absolutely got it, and he just did so exceptionally well, and he ended up graduating and he went to work for a nuclear facility in South Carolina making $4,000 a week. And so really turned his life around, his family around, and he comes here often when he's in town to thank his teachers and this school for what they did for him. So this education can really change people's lives.
And change the trajectory of a family, especially one
Absolutely.
of poverty, especially one that has all those stumbling blocks and barriers, and they're just trying to get ahead.
With no debt.
Right, absolutely.
With no debt. We actually have students here who have 4-year degrees, who have staggering college debt, who can't get employed in the particular area that they majored in, and they come here to get retrained and go to work making very good money. So
we will wrap us up and take us home. Leave us with whatever you'd like for our viewers and our listeners to know.
I think that one thing that I think people understand that they come to school here and they get trained here to go to work. But another thing that we have here is Skills USA. It's our career and technical student organization. And whatever the students learn in class, there's an opportunity for them to apply it in Skills USA. So for instance, in a health science class, if I was learning how to do CPR, in Skills USA, there's a CPR contest. If welding, learning welding in class, there's a welding competition. And so not only do they learn the ability to apply what they've learned or get the opportunity to apply what they've learned, they also learn leadership skills. And so we're really proud of our Skills USA here. And we just returned from the national competition where we took 3 students. Our adult health science student placed 7th in the nation in basic healthcare and CPR. And our 2 welders, one high school, one adult welder placed, the adult welder placed 17th in the nation and the high school student 29th in the nation. Last year we had the 2nd place welder in the nation. So we're really proud. Plus too, that's affirmation that what we're doing is good and right because our students are prepared and are winning. And so I'm really proud of our Skills USA and the opportunity for any of our students, whether they're 16 and dual enrolled or they're 42 in nursing, whatever the case may be, to get out and to travel and to represent our school and our region in these Skills USA activities.
Absolutely, and they get more training,
yes,
more hands-on
and
work,
some pretty darn good prizes too. So and scholarships. So we're all about that. I just want the people that are listening to us to know that there's a little jewel here in Perry, Florida that can change their life if they're interested. For the most part, our programs are training for a career in a year. It only takes you a year to get out and to make more money than Mrs. Head and I make.
So, put together.
So just wherever it may be, whether it's our school or our sister school, River Oak, or even Lively in this particular area, the opportunities are there for you. And I encourage you, if you're not happy in your current job or you need to, you don't have a job, there's really some place that you can go that can set you up pretty good.
I think that's perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, anytime.
And join us again next time for another great episode of Career Channels. Thank you.